Bas Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Bas Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts or call them at 466-4938.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Talk That Get Results. I'm Webbo Herbert, and as per usual, we're here every Tuesday evening with something that at least we think is of community interest and or some concern. And if you think that you have something which fits into that category, you'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program, well, why don't you drop us a line? Address it to a Let's Talk program in care of Vaughan Radio, P.O. Box 195, Charlestown in Nevis, or give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and or 1700. Here's a suggestion. That will also be the numbers you'll use to be a part of this evening's program. Again, thank you all very much for joining us. This is your voice in the community. And by the way, here's a suggestion. If you're going to be calling, you can organize yourself first of all. And you're getting on the air, you take as little time as possible so that we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything that we deem is not within our broadcast standards. But we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. Thank you all again for joining us. Your voice in the community, Talk That Get Results. You can also follow our live video stream of this program on our Facebook page at Vaughan Radio and our YouTube channel, Vaughan Radio. Click subscribe. Thank you all again for joining us. Your voice in the community, Talk That Get Results. Tonight, I almost say Edric W. Stanley.
Yeah.
Conrad Nyalibe, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Webbo, and good evening to your very hard-working staff here at Vaughan Radio. To my colleagues around the table, Mr. Brand, Mr. Field. Pleasant good evening to you guys. Once again, we gather, Webbo, in the name of the Lord to discuss issues affecting the people. And I would encourage members of the public to call in, knowing that this program entails your participation, and of course I'm sure there are issues you would like to discuss, so you can call in and put something on the table as well. Webbo, as I always say, it's a fun thing for me to be a part of the conversation that affects the people, especially here in Nevis. And to the end, I would thank you so much once again for inviting me to this very informative and far-reaching program. Webbo, thank you.
The Honorable Spencer Brand, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and a very pleasant good evening to my fellow panelists, Conrad Nyalibe and Roger Fifield. Good evening, Webbo, to your hard-working staff here at Vaughan Radio, the Eastern Caribbean owned powerhouse. Let me say good evening to all those who are listening this edition of the Let's Talk show, those persons who are here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, those who are in our neighboring islands, or Leeward Islands, British and United States Virgin Islands, those who are down the Caribbean train in the Windward Islands all the way down to Trinidad, Guyana. Further up, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, up to the continental North America, and in Europe, wherever they may be, to our folks there living all the way in Taiwan. A very pleasant good evening to you. Webbo, I want to thank you for this opportunity, and I want to take this opportunity to offer some condolences. I believe, Webbo, that over the past 2 weeks the Federation would have been all in mourning over the loss of some 7 lives in 2 accidents here on the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Kitts. Tragic and very debilitating situation where we would have lost 7 of our citizens in 2 incidents. Webbo, also I want to offer my condolences to those families who are in mourning tonight. And I can only imagine the agony and the pain that all of them are going through. I also want to offer my condolences, Webbo, to the family of young Kevon. This is a young man who would have suffered a terrible accident there at Pennis Beach some months ago, and he would have succumbed to his injuries just a day or two ago. I can again, Webbo, begin to only imagine the agony and the pain of the family. His dad, his mom, his other siblings, the entire family and the community. I hope that they can find some solace in knowing and understanding that our Creator God is divine and He is almighty and all powerful. And when we have situations like these, we can only ask, and we may not necessarily have the answers, but I also want to Webbo, the Powell family there in Hamilton, the passing of Pauline, another division who would have left perhaps a bit too soon. In my mind, as still a very young lady. I want to offer my condolences as well to the Powell family, all of our friends and neighbors there in the Hamilton area. I believe that the Hamilton area would have seen some very traumatic incidences in 2024, and I hope that as a community they can look to their Creator and bind themselves together and strengthen each other and lift up each other, and try and understand that in our Creator He is almighty and all powerful. And of course, Webbo, our very dear friend Kitchener, I believe that anyone who knew Kitchener, she was a very boisterous and flamboyant at times individual, and I certainly want to join with the community here in Bath and offer them my condolences. But we also have a number of other families throughout Nevis. We have the Mills family in Barnaby and other families throughout Nevis. I want to take this opportunity going into this time of the season and offer them my profound and deepest condolences. This is a time of the year when we celebrate with family and we come together and we exchange pleasantries and gifts and all of that. But for some families, they are in mourning, and I really hope that in the midst of it all, they can find some strength. Webbo, I want to take this opportunity as well to offer to those persons who are celebrating, whether it's a birthday, an anniversary, or some accomplishment in their life. My good friend there, Dion Pemberton in New York, I want to wish him a very happy birthday. I know he's having his birthday today. So I know he is a little bit cool and under the weather there in New York, but Nevis is nice and warm. So happy birthday to all those who are celebrating. And Webbo, thank you for the invitation, and I am indeed honored and delighted to be here tonight.
Roger Fifield, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Also, I'd like to say good evening to the listening and viewing audience, Webbo. Webbo, I too would like to join in and send sympathy greetings to all those families who had loved ones who passed recently. We know we had two vehicular accidents on St. Kitts, and lives were lost. I don't know them personally, but I could just imagine the trauma that these families are going through. I too want to send condolences to the family of Kevon Woody, who passed away, I think, sometime early yesterday morning. I think the news would have said. This is a time, Webbo, where people normally come together to share and to take part in the Christmas season, and it must be much harder at this time of year when loved ones are lost, Webbo. So I want to say condolences again, Webbo. I just want to appeal to, persons who are driving to, be cautious on the road. This is a busy time of the year. People are going from point A to point B. So I just want to ask them to, to be considerate, to anticipate, and, drive for you and the next person, and don't be selfish on the road. And I think that, accidents, could be minimized. Webbo, I just want to tell the listening and the viewing audience that the big Christmas tree lighting in Zion will take place this coming Friday the 20th, and the persons would have been asking, when we would be lighting. So I just want them to know that all roads lead to Zion on the 20th Friday this week, Webbo. Webbo, I too would want to ask the listening and viewing audience to call in. This program is for all of us. This program is one that we can learn from you, and of course you can learn something from us. So I would invite you to call in with your comments, questions, or concerns. Webbo, once again I want to thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm looking forward for a fruitful discussion tonight. Thank you.
All right. I suppose this is the final program for the year. Maybe.
Maybe.
But we'll see what happens when we come to the end of this evening. But there are a couple of things that I, would like to mention, because we can almost safely argue that we're at the end of 2024, correct?
Yes.
And I noticed that a lot of people have already been summing it up. How was 2024, and beginning now to look towards 2025? Was it challenging?
I think 2024 was a good year. I wouldn't say it was challenging in a general sense. I'm not talking personally. It was a good year for me, not too challenging, as I always enjoy the little challenges that surfaces sometimes. But as I look around, I think it has been a good year for Nevis or Nivisions as it relates to natural disasters, as it relates to the general intercourse, the to and fro, and the state of mind of the people. There are a few things of concern that sometimes people will tell me about, and I think maybe I can use this opportunity to talk about one in particular, as there is, of course, the tourist season is upon us. The issue of untidiness, garbage, of course, is something that always, surface, because we want to present ourselves as a clean island, as a decent people. And so, one particular individual who is a cornerstone of our tourist industry, the one Sunshine, he said I can call his name, asks that we be mindful of littering and to keep the environment on Penny's Beach and elsewhere clean. And I think I will expand that throughout the whole island. I think we need to develop that consciousness a little more of not liking to see litter on our streets. And of course the people in Charlestown who clean Charlestown always to me do a good job, but there are sometimes we tend to if we have a function today, we'll probably wait till tomorrow, and even that short time sometimes is the wrong time, because we pass by and we feel bad about it, and foreigners pass by and they probably might not think it was an event yesterday. And so I think in terms of garbage, when there's a function, it should be more immediate in terms of cleaning up the place. And And there is one issue in particular too that confronts me and seems to confront a lot of people, and that is taking place on Penny's Beach. People are wondering why there isn't much space on Penny's Beach today. And it is obvious that there is one individual that seems to have taken up most of the beach. I have a friend who practices, she does massages and so forth, and another one who do some vendoring, and they simply can't find a place to do their thing, really, because it looks like one individual have taken the entire beach almost, and then there's this space that is left for, I don't know what, maybe they say swimming, and so they have blocked individuals from pitching a tent or anything of that sort. Basically, to me, very restrictive approach, and it's a concern. It's a concern to many people, even visitors, who have asked me what's going on. But most important to me are the potential vendors that wants to do the little bit of selling and so forth, who simply can't find a space. Of course, the beach is very long, and when we talk of Penny's Beach, we talk of basically somewhere between the hotel and, say, Sunshine area, or a little further up. And it looks like to me that there is an unfortunate situation existing, and I want the authorities to seriously consider what is going on, because of course in Nevis there are a lot of people who talk with the head down, but it's an issue that really needs serious consideration, because other people would like to we like to function, we like to do the vendoring, and of course we cannot make the place look too overcrowded and so forth. But when somebody seems to have occupied 95% of the stretch from the hotel towards Penny's, it seems unfair. It seems unfair in every way. I mean, I've heard that the land belongs to somebody, but that's utter rubbish in a sense. The beach belongs to everyone, and of course they have designated area and say this area is the swimming area. Well, the whole beach is the swimming area, and I think people should not feel that restricted approach, or a kind of psychological thing that we cannot go down there. But it's something the authorities must look into. No one have asked me to talk about it, but I've decided to, because too many people have come forward and tell me about it, and then when I go there I realize what is going on. I think it's quite an unfortunate situation. I don't know if my colleagues have realized that. What would their feedback be on that matter? A lot of people, on these matters would feel like they are rocking the boat of the government. But no, we are really, to me, with that kind of situation, restricting people from earning and from engaging, because I think the whole idea of tourism is for people to benefit, and not just a few. And even as when we think of our tourist product, I mean, someone who do massage should find a space that they can put their tent and have something happening. That is almost impossible in the very commercial area of Penny's Beach. I mean, you can find yourself way up the beach up there where nobody come and where no tourist lingers, but everybody wants to be within that where it's happening. And I think somebody have taken far too much of the beach. I don't know if my colleagues will have anything to feel on that matter.
Now, I have raised a number of matters. He spoke about the situation down on Penny's Beach. He spoke about garbage. I believe he also spoke about the natural disaster. In terms of the matter on Penny's Beach, that is something that we are looking at. And you are absolutely correct, Naya, that all of the beaches on Nevis are public. Let me make that pellucidly clear. every single division, visitor have the right to access all of the beaches on Nevis, right? We have seen what would have transpired on Pinnis Beach, and that is something that we are looking at, and I believe at some point it must be addressed, because like you, we have seen that there is hardly any space for anybody else in that particular area, which is, in my mind, unfair. Now, and that is something that I believe we'll have to bring some resolution or solution to in the not too distant future. You spoke about the garbage throughout the island and after event and so on. From my knowledge and understanding, that whenever there are these public events, for example, somebody is going to rent or lease the villa, they normally would get the villa clean. It is within their right and obligation, and within the I don't necessarily want to say the contract, but I'm going to use that word guardedly. But within the contract, they are really supposed to leave the venue clean and tidy after their use, and that is something that we realize as well. It oftentimes take a bit longer for them to clean up than we would really like, and sometimes you see spillover, plastic bags and bottles and so on spill over in the street, and that happens around various events and so on. And that is something that I'm hoping that the various persons who normally access these venues, that they will do a much better job in cleaning up after the event. You spoke about that for tourists. I want us to do it first for ourselves, and then the tourists come and enjoy. I believe that it is within our capacity to do a better job of keeping our island clean. I would go further. I listen to I've been paying close attention to the budget debate, and this issue of derelict vehicles and properties that are being left to be overgrown by bushes and rodents and all kind of thing, that is creating all kind of issues for neighbors. That is as well, Naya, we're going to have to deal with it, because I think that it is unfair for Conrad Naya Liber to have his property clean, nice and tidy, and the neighbor, all of the neighbors, bush and garbage is coming over into Naya's property. That is not good. That is something that I know that there have been some adjustment in the legislation, and we will have to look at that as well in the new year. You spoke about the natural disaster. We have been absolutely fortunate in 2024 when it comes to not being severely affected by natural disasters. But I will say to you, Naya, and colleagues, and to the listeners, 2024 was perhaps one of the most scariest hurricane seasons we have had. Why? Because in the month of June, we have had a category 5 hurricane. That has never happened since there have been keeping of records of hurricane coming through the tropics. And that again is saying to us that all of these phenomena of global warming and what is happening in the environment is real. It is real. The oceans, the temperatures in the oceans are a bit warmer. Our rainfall patterns and so on have changed, and it is now allowing these tropical depression that is coming off of Africa to strengthen a lot quicker and to an intensity that is even stronger than we can really deal with. So all of these would have came to the fore in 2024. 2024 was on a personal side you said that it was a good year. I believe it was a good year generally for the island of Nevis, barring we did not necessarily have the kind of hurricane, and I think we had a very entertaining homecoming event here. where scores and scores of Nevisians would have ascended on the shores and enjoy what Nevis has to offer, enjoy what their home has to offer. So in those regards, I believe that 2024 was a pretty good year for the island. We continue to see certain developments on the island. We continue to see improvement in our roads, in our water. We continue to see, again, the standard of living continue to be improved, increasing in salaries. So all in all, if you put all of that together, I believe that 2024 for most persons were a pretty comfortable and decent year. For others, there have been some challenges, some personal loss, and I think that all of that goes together to put some perspective on what 2024 was like.
Well, if I can chime in here, I think too that, we were really spared, of any storms, hurricanes. I think that there were the prediction was for 20 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and which would have included 4 major hurricanes.
I think it was 5 major.
And 4 or 5 major hurricanes. And we were really spared, and for that we must give thanks and praise to the Lord above. If it wasn't for him and for his mercies, I believe that, we could have easily, blown over. Webbo, Naya spoke to the swimming area at Pinnies. I believe, Webbo, that there's a designated area for swimming for a particular purpose or reason. And it's mainly for safeguarding the swimmers. We know on Pinnies that, there are lots of boats and other crafts, and the buoys that are laid out, would channel the particular crafts in a particular direction and also restrict, so to speak, the swimmers from going beyond, so they could be in a safe space. I believe in recent times, around Pinnies, maybe Pinnies and around Pinnies, we would have had some unfortunate accidents, and this is one of the reasons why this was put in place. So I believe it's more for safety for the swimmers. The garbage or the cleaning of our island, I think it's of paramount importance. As Mr. Brand would have said, it is for us who live here, who reside here, first and foremost. And then, of course, the visitors, could come, would come and enjoy Webbo. Culturama, I believe it was good. Not for me and my camp personally, but I think generally, I think that it was a good one. Persons, I believe enjoy themselves. We were given, so to speak, upgrade in the cultural village. I haven't heard anyone who said that they don't like the cultural village and its upgrade. So I think we must say kudos to those who had the foresight, including the Cultural Secretariat, the government, and all others. Webbo, we also saw the first of its kind, the Legend Calypso tent that was held at 869 Bar. A lot of persons, still talking about what a wonderful show it was, and hoping that another of its kind can be held sometime in the future. So I believe...
Another of which kind?
The Legends Calypso show.
That was 50 years in the making.
No, but it could be done.
Yeah.
That's the point, and it should be done.
Yeah.
But the difference with us, right? We tell you what we set out to do, and we did it. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we said, that we do it to show you that it could be done. Mm-hmm. Right? Because some people pronounce that it couldn't be done. And as my late dear mother would say, and this is a Nivision cultural saying, it's not bad with anything, but it is equivalent of when Jesus had told Satan, get thee behind me. Some people say that was a bad curse word, right? So my mother now, she don't never used to talk bad words, but in that instance she would say with the forwardness. Okay? So it could be done. So I am joining Mr. Fifield, who was a strong part of it as well, and Eminem and all the others and stuff like that, and I'm supporting them 100%, along with the other authorities, and I'm including Mr. Brand with the other authorities, because he has a seat where he can not just talk but do thought and get results. So get it done and have it going forward, because it wasn't nothing about us. We had the skill, and it could. So I support that. Fifield, they should do it, because we didn't do it to say we are doing it. We do it to show you the way it could be done, and it should be done, and it should continue. And we don't feel no way. As a matter of fact, we'll be happy to assist. So let there not be argument and dispute and stuff like that, because I think we like too much bacchanal in those kind of things. We will support it 100%, whoever is carrying the weight. In whatever format, it doesn't have to be in the same format, but those guys who bring the thing there, etc., and should not be shut out. As Edric would say, are you following me?
Absolutely.
Okay, Fifield, I just wanted to cut in on you with that. But I got some notes here to
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Webbo. Webbo, also it was a year that I made my debut back in February. It might have been the 6th of Tuesday, the 6th of February, to this widely listened program. And so for me, it's on a personal level, it was, if I can say it hasn't been completely.
Let me get this, Fifield, see who wants to engage. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Hello, good evening, Webbo.
Yes, could you go ahead?
Good evening to your esteemed panel.
Good evening.
And good evening to the listening public. This one is to Mr. Brand. Because as Webbo said, you are sitting in a seat where you could make things happen. Observation. Mr. Brand, I noticed you stumbled over the word contract. And the reason I noticed that is because in the past I noticed entities of the government are quite reluctant to get into contracts. I think contracts are good when you have a discussion and you formalize everything. Once you have an agreement, you formalize everything, you sign to it. I notice different times entities of the government have shied away from that. Because I think contracts are good in the sense that both parties or all three parties or how many of the parties know exactly what to expect. Lest there be no confusion. And I would like through you to implore the government to set good examples and encourage the government to get into contracts. Stop shying away from the contracts.
Caller. No, sorry.
Anyway,
I apologize for interrupting you.
Yeah. The absence of a contract it leaves the two parties. Okay, let's say it's an ongoing thing. It leaves the two parties to be haggling over every occurrence. It's not nice. I assure you, it's much better when you have something in place, you know what to expect. You could, in the agreement says you could cut yourself deals and stuff like that. Once both parties or all the parties agree, you know what to expect, and you know that you have, and over a period, so that, and I find the government shy away from that, and the government entities shy away from that, and I don't think it's a good thing. So I would like for you to encourage the government to look at it differently. It's good for both parties. Yes, Mr. Brand, go ahead.
Yes. You say I stumbled over the word contract. You are correct. I paused a bit because when I was speaking about the situation that Naya spoke about and the garbage and the use of these venues, I know oftentimes it's a kind of perhaps a loose arrangement in the sense that these venues, persons would call the relevant ministries, and we live in a society where we just say, yeah, you need it for Saturday the 10th, okay, it's not booked, and there is that kind of quote unquote kind of loose arrangement, and perhaps you are correct that it is something that we probably need to tighten up a bit more and get more involved with on a broader scope. You said that the government need to get more involved in these contracts. That is something that where I sit and in my ministry is something that we often try to do, because you are absolutely correct. In the absence of a contract, there can be a lot of misunderstanding and misconception.
Yes,
and I think that, and like I said, from where I sit, we often try to get into various contracts because we want to make sure that there is no misunderstanding, there is no misconception. You're doing a piece of wall 250 feet long, whatever it is, we often try to get into contract for those kind of arrangements, because the service provider and the NIA, the ministry, needs to be on the same page, that somewhere down the road there could be no misunderstanding or no misconception as to what is really required of both sides. So you're absolutely correct.
Mr. Brand,
yes.
One of the reasons another reason why I'm bringing this up is because at the end of the day, in the situation that you just mentioned, the contracts, with taxpayers' money at stake, and I would like to know that we don't have too much confusion over that. I like it to run smooth.
Caller, could I make an injection or ask a question?
Sure.
The practice that you seem to be referring to of the lack of interest in putting things in writing so that it is clear, do you think it has anything to do with how we are as a people? Regardless to whether we work with me, regardless to whether we are in the government, because remember, it's people from the society who are in these ministries. So you think it have anything to do with who we are as a people and how we operate?
Well, Webbo, the reason I had an immediate past experience that it didn't feel too well to me where that happened. And my observation has been that I would easier get a contract from a private person in the community, or get an agreement there, I try to put things on paper. I turn my invoices into contracts, put conditions in them.
Right, but what I don't have too much problem. I get you, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, those persons who you had the immediate past experience with come from the society, right? Maybe they're set of people who like to bluff.
That's true, Webbo, and I understand where you're coming from. That's true, yeah.
But so you see, what I find is, and I think that's why the practice continues, is because everybody afraid to say the kind of treatment they get from other people with this bluffing. I was just telling my tech here that I remember when Edric came, we get to know him first and we started. Edric had come from, as he liked to say, another jurisdiction.
Another jurisdiction.
Yes, and he was successful there. And he understood, business and so on and the hustle and everything. And he was so astounded, shocked with this bluffing and stuff like that. And I told Edric, boy, you got to understand, when these people hit your bluff, to them, it is like making a deposit on the bank.
Yep.
And it still continues today. I personally, I've been around a while, but I get so frustrated sometimes, right? Sometimes you want to know if fellas just bad-minded.
Yeah. Well,
because you go and you say, well, in a business way, and they just keep bluffing you.
Yeah. Well,
and laughing about it.
Let's get back to the.
However, if work with me, if you now have to expose them, and then as a consequence the facts and the truth hurt them, then they're going to say all manner of evil against you.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that this will be for the good. And I was going to say to you, Webbo, when you asked if they could come from the community, but do you notice that Mr. Brad, this is not a puncher here. I don't throw punches.
No, I'm listening.
You notice after guys get elected, they kind of change. That's just a light moment.
Well, they have to change because continuing the same light moment, because before they were elected they were not a minister. So in order anyway, I just continue your light moment. Okay, yeah.
Thank you for the engagement, Mr. Grant.
You're welcome, sir.
All right, boss.
Okay. On that same thing, I had a note here, and I like to use international examples. And one of the things, the note I have, is a recent campaign in the United States, where the president-elect now won in part, largely in part, by promising the folks, and they won, he's going to bring the prices of groceries and everything down.
He's already backtracking that.
This is what I'm saying. And people have this thing as a joke, playing with people's lives. Right? He's now saying, before day one has come, but he has already been elected, he now says what he knows was the truth. It's not going to be easy to do that, because first of all, he can't sign something to say bring down the prices. He knows in terms of the economics and so on, it comes on over time, if it ever comes down.
Yeah.
Now, why I made the point is this, that you now segue into the guy who shot the insurance CEO, right? Now they are going now behind the scenes to find the motive and all that. They're finding out that people are angry with the same bluffing and ripping off. So it comes a time when you keep fooling people, right? They're going to realize you're fooling them. And that's basically the reality that we're facing. And it's how the game is played. I'm just putting the facts on the table.
Yes.
When you're in opposition, for instance, you tell people, put me there and I give you everything for free. That is what was necessary to be said to get you there. In politics, they said, tell the people what they want to hear. Now, when you get elected and you find the reality is that you can't do it, then the frustration comes out.
Yes. Yep.
And so people change.
People don't change,
Well,
Naya. Work with me. You change clothes and so, but people don't change.
Well, their perception.
Just work with me. They were always a wolf. But all I did
The shed.
was put on cheap clothing. You remember that? So I didn't change.
Yeah.
I was always a wolf. My clothing changed. So you agree with that?
I would like to agree with that.
Okay. So remember that. They don't change.
But Webbo, that's a typical example of a grief that have been under the table for a long time. I'm talking about the guy who shot the CEO, because it's an example of people who are hurting, but in some way it's not making it to the surface. It's not being realized. It's probably not being communicated on a level where we all say, me too, I experienced that. But as soon as this guy shot the CEO, he's well supported in terms of finance for his court case and everything else. He becomes a kind of hero. And so that kind of situation exists around here a lot, as far as I check. Well, I think it's a global thing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, we have to discuss this against the backdrop of a shooting,
Well,
because you don't really want to encourage anybody to do those things. But it can fit under the heading of what I was speaking about. You go and they keep bluffing you. You go to maybe, as a caller was saying, you go to a government department. You're trying to get something organized. You're trying to get it in writing so that when the time comes, you can, be straight. We agreed so and so, and there ain't nobody to complain to, right? And so you find the guy looks now, and then he finds that somebody else comes and they change the rules and everything and accommodate them. So these are realities. And so when we know that these things are happening all the time, and then it plays out in a unfortunate situation, then we're wondering, well, how this happened, where did it come from? Everything have consequences. When salvation, the only thing that's free in life, when that was offered, it was conditional. You can get into this pearly gates, but these are the conditions.
See, sometimes contracts entail a kind of repetitious circumstance. Sometimes when you're asked to do something, one may feel like a contract is not necessary, because you maybe only be asked once, but you want to be asked once and twice and 3 times. So you would like to have a contract because sometimes, as I say, entails a repetitious circumstance. But I can understand, as you mentioned, Webbo, is the kind of society we live in sometimes.
I don't know. Well, you did qualify what you're saying about sometimes, but what I'm getting and what my view is that people who are disingenuous and they intend to go away from what you discuss or you agree. Right?
Yes.
A fellow did that to me one time, but he did not know that I had secured my evidence. And then when I dropped the evidence, and then he said, well, I got to go along with you because you got the evidence. You see what I'm saying? So I just think, and I've been saying this for eternity, I think that we got to treat one another better. Right? I remember Pastor Maynard.
Even when it hurts.
Yeah, well, you are a welder, and sometimes I see you pass and I see you working, and not just with the rods. Sometimes you have a hammer and you're pounding, correct? Pounding it into shape. So sometimes you got to put on pressure to
And
get
heat.
and heat.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, again, we reached to last week. I think I mentioned that every time we had a good discussion last week. I think, right? But every time you have to make a point, or you have to strike the iron while it's hot in order to get the shape that you want. Some people don't see the end product. They don't have the ability to see that, so they get upset with you.
Webbo, not only that, some people see the end product and don't appreciate the kind of hard work that you would have had to put in to get to the end product.
Correct.
So it's a I listen to the caller, and I believe that I have a deep appreciation of what he is seeking to get across. And Webbo, I think that you alluded to it. Sometimes there are some persons who, for one reason or the other, may want to bluff you, or may want to cause some mischief, so to speak. And you are absolutely correct again that we have to get to that point where there is that greater mutual respect, that deep appreciation for each other, and treat each other with that level of respect and cordiality and a sense of honesty, because I think that at the end of the day, without some of what we are talking about, it leaves a lot of room for misunderstanding. It leaves that wide open gate for people to cause mischief.
Ben, just hold. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The vibes I'm getting is that we should throw our hands up in the air, because we can't change what is. It is what it is.
Caller, might I ask you where you're getting that vibes from?
Just generally speaking, we mentioned the fact that it's something that is continuing.
Now, work with me. You said the vibes you're getting. I understand that. So I just wanted to know where you're getting the vibes from.
And I'm saying I'm saying it in general.
You're not talking about in listening. You're talking about your life experiences.
No,
in the society, just like we
society,
oh, okay. I thought you. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, but at the same time, I'm hearing that, well, it's something that continues over and over again, regardless of where it's happening. It's just something that we just have to accept. And the thing about it is, we know the problems that we face, and we have entities that are supposed to deal with them. We mentioned, for instance, that there's no one to complain to. There are people that we are able to, we should be able to complain to, but it's just that the entities we put in place don't seem to work.
Right.
For instance, there's an ombudsman, isn't there?
Yeah, caller, but you would agree that I think we are in concert saying the same thing. We have the theory. We have everything written out correctly how it's supposed to work. But what we're doing, we are comparing the actual now with the budgeted and finding that we have a deep variance. You agree with that?
Yes.
Right. So that is what we're addressing. There are people in place to complain to, right? For instance, as you said, the ombudsman or the minister or the CEO or the permanent secretary. But a lot of times the bluff coming from them.
So then how do you fix it? Because these people report to other people, and so you would think that at some point the buck got to stop somewhere. And okay, take for instance, we have integrity commissions, we have now supposedly information officers, all these nice things that you'd find in a democracy. But it's like nothing changes.
Well, you know, caller, I'm glad that you mentioned that point. You know why? Because I think I know the voice, and we've had lots of discussion over a long period of time, and you have been an advocate for Integrity Commission. You agree with that?
Yes.
And some of these other things.
Right.
And I didn't want to preempt you because I'm a patient fellow. So I know you would get to that same comment that you're just making. Go ahead.
Well, it is not. I'm throwing my hands up in the air, you know.
No, we're not saying that, but you're just now reporting the reality. You agree with that?
Right.
And in accounting terms, I just said you had the budgeted. Now you have the actual, and then you find a deep variance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so the thing is what to do. And you take something that's practical, for instance.
We know what to do, you know.
You think we know?
We do. We do. We know what to do. But who's got the courage to do it? For instance, this is a hypothetical. If it is something at the planning department, we don't want to expose it here because, Mr. Brenner, are you the planning minister responsible for planning?
Yes, sir.
Right, because we don't want Brent to get vexed with you. So you grumble it down 4th Street or Prince William Street or something. Isn't that correct?
Yes. Most people do that.
Why I'm doing this cross-examination, this is a light moment. A fellow met me last Wednesday and told me that I must do some more cross-examination next week.
I don't mind being cross-examined. The thing is, at least, right, I rail against it. I've always railed against it, and I continue to rail against it, right? Even though it may seem that I'm hitting a brick wall, okay? I mean, there are things that I think are, for instance, in the Constitution. Take, for instance, the Public Accounts Committee. Is that functional? Is it even constituted? Doesn't the Constitution say it's supposed to be? In the Parliament, in the Parliament, isn't it specified that the leader of the opposition is supposed to be the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee? And we go on and on without these things. I mean, these are things that are supposed to well, I guess it's akin to the General Accounting Office in the United States, that makes sure that there's not public waste. It helps the commission, the Integrity Commission, and the Director of Audit to do their rules.
But that's the normal but that's the normal rhetoric.
Huh?
That's the normal rhetoric, and that is what people are getting fed up of hearing. And it comes down to, again, like we said, everybody knows what to be done. One of the things that we're talking about a lot now is, people must carry out their duties for where the traffic is concerned, because we had some real bad, tragedies with traffic and stuff like that and so on, right?
Right.
I always tell my folks, use this analogy. I said, if we keep going around the corner, a sharp bend, at 100 miles per hour, sometimes we will make it, but then the inevitable will happen.
At some point, yes.
Right. Some accidents, you can say, happen, and some are caused. You ever hear that term?
Yep.
Okay. So that is where we're at.
Well,
and I asked the question, sorry, I just wanted to make this last point. I asked the question a little earlier, if you were listening, is if it's not who we are as a society.
Well, it's more like what we have become. See, because I think, generally speaking, we used to be more disciplined, you know. Don't you think so? That, I mean, we don't like to bring up this once ago thing, or in this and this particular person time, or so. We used to be more disciplined. And there's some things now that we tolerate that we would not have tolerated then. We would not have thought of tolerating them.
So then, what are we complaining about then?
But we have to complain,
but if you order chicken, then you must eat it. Put another way. You buy the bed, you lie down in it. Otherwise, buy a different bed. That is what that is saying. Correct?
You would think so.
What do you mean you would think so?
You would think so, but
did you understand?
It seems to be easier said than done.
Did you understand the parable that I said? When I warn, if you keep going around a sharp bend at 100 miles per hour, you likely sometimes will make it.
Yeah.
But the inevitable will happen.
Right. And so maybe we have to have, maybe it hasn't reached crisis point yet. Maybe it takes a crisis, that crisis point, for things to really change.
When I gave my commencement address when I graduated in the university, part of my deliverance said, every time you reach to this stage, people greet you with the greetings, welcome to the real world. And I said, the experiences that we had, sometimes eating Snickers for dinner, and you're going to tell me, welcome to the real world. If that's not the real world, please leave us here in fantasy.
Okay, to do what you say, for instance, Mr. Brand is there, is he?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Mr. Brand. Just let me say a little something. Mr. Brand, to my delight, is slowly becoming like Edric W. meaning that he and I had some rough going back and forth, Edric and I, through the years, but we never followed. So Brand is learning to take the hard thing and, you know. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, so he's here.
That is good.
Yeah.
So let me throw a hard question at him, right? Because since he's the only politician on the panel right now, okay? Mr. Brand,
yes, sir.
Do you know, I'm sure you're aware, for instance, that there should be a public accounts committee constituted in Parliament. You're aware of that, right?
Yes, it's very much enshrined.
Right. Why hasn't it been constituted? And more importantly, why you as a politician, a representative of the people, a member of, not necessarily the federal parliament, but a member of parliament, knowing the rules, why haven't you advocated for it? It's the essence of democracy.
Before Mr. Brand answers, he can also consider this when he's answering you. Is it okay for me to add my on?
Sure.
Okay. Do I get the sense that now you campaign real hard for the Integrity Commission? Now that you have that, and now signaling is not working, you have now gone and to talk about the Public Accounts Committee, which will end up the same result. Mr. Brand, go ahead.
Just a minute, though.
Okay, go ahead.
Remember, though, that remember there was a big fanfare with the declaration of assets and so on, and those handed into the right. And you also remember the DPP kind of egging them on and saying, listen, I'm serious about this thing. You're supposed to do it. If you don't do it, there will be consequences. That was, what, a year ago? Or over a year ago? You notice that everything has been muted since then? It's as if everybody fall in step with what was. I find that amazing. Right?
But to the fair though, caller, to the contrary, the report was, and maybe you can tell me if you have different evidence, the report is that everybody did fall in step, meaning that they did what they were supposed to do.
Yes, for last year. But is that the same this year?
Well, we don't know.
We don't, because remember this extend to even civil servants and so on, you know.
Well,
I suspect.
Yeah, but you see,
because last year we had a compliance.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, Carla. I'll give you another parable, right? When Dr. Douglas, my dear friend, got elected and became the Prime Minister, within months, I interviewed him. And you know that Dr. Douglas was capital pulled in part by what? Constitutional reform. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when I interviewed Dr. Douglas, Prime Minister Douglas, I said to him, and it's on tape, why do I get the feeling that next election and the elections after, we still will be talking about the same thing? That's the other parable. Are we still talking about the same thing? You know how long Dr. Douglas was? 95. Okay? So, this thing, to be, with all due respect, that you're talking about, integrity commission and so on, but you're making basically the same point. But some people have the ability to know, based on certain factors and so on, to know that where we were going before we actually get there.
Well, that is why I'm throwing it at Mr. Brand, because they're the ones with the power to change things, eh?
But
the ordinary person on the street can't, you know. So
in other words, you know that where we will get, but you just wanted Mr. Brand to say it.
No. I'm interested in hearing his take on why these things don't happen.
Okay, Mr. Brand, your take.
Caller, you asked me a very specific question regarding the Public Accounts Committee and why it is not constituted, or why it's not in place. Sitting here tonight, I cannot give a reason as to why it is not in place. That, in my mind, is in the purview of the Office of the Prime Minister, the Attorney General, the Leader of the Opposition. I think that is an instrument of our Constitution.
But you don't bear any responsibility.
No, I'm not saying that I am not saying that I don't bear any responsibility as a parliamentarian. As a matter of fact, every single parliamentarian should bear some responsibility, because it is a creature of our democracy. It is a creature of our how the government itself is set up.
This question is for around the table. You don't think that the whatever laws and rules and all these things that we put in place and so on, you don't think at the end of the day it comes down to who we are as a people? We have a constitution. We had a crisis the other day, and then they make an interesting interpretation of it and then do something else.
Precisely.
So does it not come down to who we are as a people?
Most definitely, Webbo. Because, I mean, when we look at the Constitution and the laws, there are so many laws that are on the books. And many persons would not know until something happened, and then, someone would say, well, you have to put this into law. But really and truly, you just need policing, so to speak. And it has been happening all the time, is basically, as you said, who we are. Are we a people that want to be enforcers? Are we a people that want to police a particular legislation to make sure that it's effective?
And that was the point that Mr. Evelyn was making
today.
In Parliament today.
Yes, that's
right?
Correct.
That what's the point? Just having laws, you got to police and enforce and all of that. Okay? And I'm also saying that it's not equal responsibility. There are people with the power to change things, right? And so people like Mr. Brand, Mr. Evelyn, all the MPs, they are leaders, right?
But Carla, to be fair, when Mr. Brand and Mr. Evelyn, etc., put these things in place because they make the laws up, they put them in place. And then nobody executed and the other person don't play their part. What you do, you just keep complaining?
No. But that is also on Mr. Eveling and Mr. Brand and whoever appoints these people. These people didn't appoint themselves, you know.
Right. So when they appoint these people then, and they do not execute the thing, the laws or what?
The consequences.
Such as what?
Well, that's up to them. If, for instance, right, let's take a simple case. Again, back to the Public Accounts Committee. If there is a specification that a Public Accounts Committee should be there, but there is no stipulation as to the time that it is put in place, then put the time in place.
Yeah,
so
but you see, Carter,
just like the motion of no confidence.
But I'm going to then argue with you on the point, on the basis again, that you argued strong and hard and successfully for these other things, and they were put in place, so you leave it alone, and then you come to something else. What we want is results.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So if if part of the what laws they put in place didn't say, for instance, that the Integrity Commissioner should report every year as to the not what is in the folders and so on, but to the compliance rate, for instance, to give people an idea that, well, things are happening or not happening. Okay, but it's almost as if it's some secret thing somewhere where the public are not supposed to know. The people hire people, the people elect people. They're supposed to know what they're doing, right? They're supposed to know that they're compliant. We want to know that the Integrity Commission is doing its job. If they're investigating anybody, we don't want details, obviously, of people's business, but give the public confidence that these things are working because they're essential to our democracy. That's the point.
Okay.
But Carla, if I may give you a little comfort tonight, let me say to you that all of the parliamentarians on the government side on the island of Nevis is in compliance at the Integrity Commission, both on St. Kitts and both on Nevis.
But remember, it was extended to not just the politicians.
But Carla, I am speaking very specific that all of the members of the cabinet which I am a part of are in compliance both at the federal level and at the Nevis Island administration level.
Okay.
And the comment I'll make on that is this. You're playing a cricket match, and I used to play cricket.
And you was very good at it.
Well, you got me there. Anyhow, I used to play, and there were times my main contribution was batting, and there were times when we might bat first, and we might get a good score. And we said to the rest of the guys, we don't put the runs on the board. Neither you and Fifield, you're the bowlers.
Defend it.
You right. I give you runs to defend.
You got to defend it.
Okay. But then we lose. What comfort is there for me to boast and say, well, I did my part. Yeah, we made it done. Right? Of course we can say that, but at the end of the day we lost. So, to tell me that this part did win, this part did, and at the end of the day we lose the game is no comfort to me. We do talk that. Yeah, we do. It's not just you. We don't just do talk. We do talk and get results.
You got to advocate for what's right.
The result is what is important. The end of the day, the accountants will tell you the two lines at the bottom line.
That's right.
So when I tell them fellas I We put some runs on the board already. Defend that. And then you ask me, well, why did my team lose? I said, me not study them. We put runs on them. That is no comfort to the fans.
True.
We won't win the game.
All right, gentlemen.
Yeah, okay, thanks much.
Good evening.
Let me get this quick break. This is Thought That Get Results. The Honorable Spencer Brand, Conrad Nair Liber, Roger Fifield. Back after these.
The Nevis Water Department Sports and Social Club take this opportunity to extend holiday greetings to all for a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It has been their pleasure to provide you with quality barbecue chicken and ribs during their signature Friday night barbecues on Pump Road. They are committed to provide you with many more wholesome entertainment and tasty refreshments during the best organized Friday Night Lime on the island.
Builders Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need. Wow! Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better. This is something that you can't refuse. Visit Builders Paradise today at the C.A. Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts or call them at 466-4938.
From the Caribbean's powerhouse.
Merry Christmas from all of us to you.
Gentlemen, I don't know. I think we are on to a discussion, a topic which the society really wants. So I don't know if we can continue on it right now or we can defer it to some other programs going forward, and if we want to get to something else. But that is something I think that we need to discuss as a society, and indeed that is one of the things that they're discussing in the United States as a whole, because they're saying that based on certain practices over time, it's now coming to the fore and it must be addressed, must be dealt with, right? When people have certain expectations, when you're too bright and too smart and you keep fooling people all the time, people are human. It comes a point where it hurts. And I will tell you, even the courts are finding out that they have to do something. I don't know how many of you are aware that last week, Friday, we carried the judgment live.
Yes, which was, I believe, was that the first time ever?
But that wasn't the first time, but we do a lot of stuff before. But it's something that they're in partnership with us. We're hoping going forward. And one of the things is that hopefully you bring that awareness to the general public, to the society, and it helps in a positive way in terms of deterrent.
Sure.
Right? People are realizing that the status quo is not working because people over time, as I said, you keep fooling and bluffing people all the time, it's going to have a different effect.
Well, Webbo, you're correct. Last week, Friday, I was actually in traffic when I noticed that Von Radio announced that they would be breaking from their regular programming to go to the High Court in Charlestown, and I was I was wondering actually what was happening, and then I kind of pulled aside and I listened what was really happening, and I thought that it was a very interesting new addition, new intervention, because the first judgment in particular, I know that it was a situation here on the island of Nevis that I deem was in the interest of the general public. And I felt that the judge would have perhaps shown some uniqueness in bringing this to the fore. We have had here on the island of Nevis and in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and virtually Webbo throughout the region, very significant landmark cases, and persons are totally unaware of them. So I think that if this is now going to be something that is now going to be the norm, I think that it goes well for bringing the information to the general public, and perhaps it will raise some awareness, so to speak, in the general public that, as the caller before said, the consequences of certain action. I thought that it was a very good intervention. I knew about the case, I knew about the incident, but to hear the actual judgment, I thought that it was something good in the interest of the general public, because I think it highlights that our actions can have consequences, and the judge would have also made certain pronunciation that perhaps we need to look at some of our laws as it regards to some of the penalties for certain incidences. And I thought that the idea of getting this kind of conversation out to the general public was good, was in the interest of the general public, was in the interest of broadening the conversation, broadening the discourse on some of these issues. So I was very happy that I was able to listen to it live. I really was wondering what was happening, what was going on, and I did listen, and I thought that it was something good for all of the listeners of One Radio at that time.
And what was interesting, I think, also with it, is that I don't know if it's coincidence that is a former police officer, and so that people can glean from that even a law person is not a law enforcer is not above the law.
Yeah.
Right, and justice. You see, justice must not only be done; it must see it. And effective communication in everything is important. One of the failures that Biden has, they say, failures, is his messaging, because the evidence shows that he is one of the most consequential presidents, but his problem is messaging. He can communicate. As a matter of fact, I find it so fascinating that Trump told them the other day, and a lot of people will believe his people for sure, he was the one who gave them Obamacare. I said, this man is just a genius. Trump said, so the reporter said, but no, Trump said, I funded it. I couldn't. The point, and people will believe. So messaging is important, and so we're willing to work with anybody. That's our mission in this society, because we say only the best will do, and we're encouraging people, because sometimes people think that there is not success in going the what you call the right way. They feel you have to bluff and do those kind of things and so on. But you can be fair. Edric used to always say, give a man a fair price. A fair deal. You get something, he gets something.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, I don't know of the case, and I haven't heard much of it, but just hearing what Mr. Brand was just saying, I think it was a great gesture coming from the press. It's something I would encourage, because I think the general public get to know more about the intercourse when it's come to justice. They get to know how cases are evaluated, and most importantly, these issues are public issues in a sense, because usually when you find yourself in court, it's something you have done against the society or against the goodwill of the society in some way or the other. So I think for the society to expose to the judgment and the procedures, it's a good gesture, and I think that is part and parcel of the working of the press. And I didn't know one way they did that, and I didn't know that I've done it before, but I would encourage that they do it again, and more so, because I think it's all positive. It's all positive. A lot of those who go out there and do these serious crime, they wish that their case will be held in the darkest room, and nobody know the consequence, and so when you expose these situation, it's a deterrent, because of course you kind of make them feel bad about what they have done. And again, I think the whole gesture tends to enlighten the public as to the procedures and the consequence, and all in all, I would encourage you guys to do it more. As you say, it's maybe a coincidence that he was a former police officer, but it speaks to the fact that no one is above the law, and even those who are enforcing the law, there are times they try to go through small holes and do the most grievous crimes in their enforcement, and sometimes outside of that also in their private lives. And so I would encourage that. It's a good social gesture, and it's positive for justice. It's positive for members of the public to be a part of the proceedings and to see justice being served.
Webbo,
but it's not always served anyway, even though it's listened by the public.
That's a good topic for discussion again. Justice not only must be done, seen to be done, and justice delayed is justice denied.
That's right.
Right? And if you look at the justice system in the islands, right, the amount of games they keep playing, right? You have a simple case, and it takes 7 years before you go to trial, just because of the I call it games.
Some of them don't go.
Some don't go.
Nobody know what happened.
Right, and you have instances where you go there and you win a case, you think you win. They don't pay, or as the case may be, and stuff like. But you guys, anyway.
Webbo, if I may.
Yes.
About the same case, Webbo, that that came via your radio station. I believe that it brings more awareness, yes, and I want to look at it at a different avenue, so to speak. Your radio station, of course, would have bring on the news, in terms of what the judgment was, but to actually hear it from the mouth of the judge, I believe that
Different,
persons who are aspiring to be lawyers, from probably even a tender age, from a primary school, early high school, could get to hear and understand, some of the jargon that the judge would have used in his judgment. So I believe, in bringing it live, it's a different aspect of just the news reporter bringing, the results, so to speak. So
go ahead.
So I believe that it is good, it is commendable, and that ought to continue.
You just put asked to put a different aspect on the table,
Yes.
which is interesting. So can I put a different aspect to it as well?
Sure.
Are you aware that with all what you said, that it is good and we did something good, you know that people will be upset with us too?
But of course,
But you know that.
Of course.
And you see, so that is part of what comes in terms of the society, right? Now, what if we decide, well, it's by people might upset with us, so we ain't gonna do it.
but the thing in life, Webbo, if I've learned that if everyone in this world were to be in agreement with you, then something is wrong with you.
Yeah, but remember, there's a lot of things are easier said than done, you know.
But people deep down, they know right from wrong, you know, Webbo. They know right from wrong. They might be disgusted or upset, you know, for the moment. But when they go in a quiet, you know, place and they reflect, they would understand, you know, hey, why this was what was done. But if I could just give a little analogy here, and maybe you might forgive me for this, but Webbo, I would have said to my children, and I speak a lot about my children, yes, you know, if your teacher call on you, for instance, to read, you know, it's not that your teacher is jumping on you or picking on you. Your teacher misses something in you that he wants you to read in front of the class to help you with the public speaking, to help you with reading.
Training ground.
Right, and not necessarily you can look at it as that teacher is jumping on you. So when you and your radio station, who we all know are trendsetters, or is a trendsetter, you know, people, especially, there would be some who are jealous for whatever reason, you know. So they would talk, but you continue to do what you know is good and right. And at some point in time, they're going to realize and they're going to try to emulate.
I don't think you should let those little, you know, people who will say negative things make you depart from your responsibility. I think a radio station, the press, you know, news reporters has a responsibility. And as I said before, that gesture was a positive gesture. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. But yes, there will be people who may think that it should not be done. But I think the positive definitely outweighs the negative, and it's an educating gesture. It's an exposure. It will, of course, prevent those who feel like they can do crime and be tried in the darkest room and no one knows why they're in prison or what they have done. So I think it's almost like a name and shame kind of thing. I mean, if you win the case, then you're jubilant and you would say, okay, you see, they tried, you know, and of course you would have a flag to fly. But I suppose when you lose the case, then of course you have that right to appeal. But I think all in all, it's the work of the press. It's part and parcel of the work of the press. And the press must communicate important things to the public. And such cases, I suppose, are important. Are important that these things are revealed, that will lead to a better society. And so you should never let the slight negative outweigh the positive of it.
Webbo, as I said earlier, I listened to the live when the judgment was being broadcast live, and I maintained the view that it was something that I thought was in the interest of the general public. As I indicated earlier, we would have lost 7 individuals due to traffic accident over the past few weeks. And I also think that perhaps somewhere in the back of the judge's mind that he felt that this was another case where, because of one reason or the other, this elderly lady would have lost her life via vehicular incident. And I felt that the judge felt that this is something that needs to be out in the public domain, that we have to be careful on our roads. We have to realize that there are consequences based on how we handle ourselves on our road. So I thought that all in all, when you basically connect all of the dots, I believe that the judge in his wisdom was trying to send a message, so to speak, to the general public that, listen, we have to be careful on our roads. We can't continue to drive perhaps one intoxicated or above the speed limit, and if you get into a situation where there are consequences. So I feel that his mission of raising this in the general public was timely. I feel that it was a right move, and I felt that he used perhaps the best platform to get out that message, Van Radio. I hope, Webbo, that from what would have transpired in that case and the sad incident, the sad incidents on St. Kitts would heighten the awareness of our people that we have to be careful on our road. Yes, we are making every effort to improve our road infrastructure, and I must say, Webbo, that sometimes you're driving along and the road is in such pretty good condition in most parts, and you almost forget that you are creeping up at a certain speed. And I am hoping that our people would be able to check themselves and prevent these kind of incidents.
Okay, let me just take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Hello, good evening.
Yes.
Well, I didn't hear the broadcast, but I heard of it, and I thought that's very enlightening, and it gives me a better feeling of the law when it comes to policemen. The reason I say that is contrast with another case where I was shot to death on a dance floor by a police officer. And in that case, my understanding is that there was a tribunal that went on, and everybody was left wondering. I'm wondering what's the difference between these two cases. This one is enlightening, like I said. The other one, to this day, leaves me wondering.
No, I think
where the result came back that it was justifiable homicide. I don't understand what that means. I don't understand what went on. The general public was left to wonder what's going on. They're still wondering up until today. This one, this present case, was here to the public, so that they don't have to be wondering.
Well, I don't know if your concern could be addressed under one of the general topic that we mentioned earlier, where people are asking for justice not only to be done, but to be seen.
To be done.
Right. So that, in other words, you must be as transparent as possible.
Exactly.
And I think that is what. And caller, maybe it might be slow, but over time.
That's why I can appreciate what the station has done.
You're finished? Yeah. Okay, thanks. I was just saying that over time, right, that right and justice will always prevail. Sometimes it doesn't take, it takes longer than we hope. But at the end of the day, what is fair and right and decent will prevail if you believe in the precepts of the Bible. But sometimes people go for the quick fix, right? Maybe we can segue quickly into the budget. Everybody was waiting for a double salary. Why didn't it appear? Everybody is silent. Well, let us make Brand answer then, because everybody was waiting for double salary. Why didn't it appear?
That's a question that only I believe the Prime Minister, who is the Minister of Finance, can answer. Well,
I think so. I don't. There are other conscientious people who could answer.
Yeah, the reality is, Webbo, that the citizenship by investment program did not do as well this year. That is what I am thinking. Maybe
that is one, but let me help you. The Prime Minister said that he is also thinking and minded too. When you take the CBI monies and you only give one section,
yes,
how do you satisfy and appease the other segment who also is part owner of it?
Yes.
Now, these are not opinions. When I make presentations such as now, I go for what evidence is there.
The facts, yeah.
Right? And this is a light moment. One time I had a case, and the judge told me, Mr. Herbert, you have made your case. Whenever a judge tells you have made your case, sit down. And then I lost the case.
You made your case, but he did not agree with you?
Well, it's a parable and a mystery.
Yes.
But the bottom line is, remember we talking about bottom line earlier?
Yes.
Lost the case. And remember I said it was a light moment.
But the Prime Minister had made some kind gestures throughout 2024.
Yeah, I don't, in my position, I don't.
Across the board?
Yeah, in my position, I don't make opinions and stuff like that, right? But it will be a good debate. Just like when we spoke about Biden, President Biden, you heard what we said? What the evidence is showing, and the bipartisan report is showing, that he is one of the most successful presidents in history, based on the evidence. So what will be important and interesting is to take Prime Minister Joe thus far, and let's see how he has been doing. That would be interesting. Presenting the facts. The only thing I would say, that some people argue that this is the first time they get any dividends. So you wonder how those people would check him off.
Yes. True.
In a factual sense. Go ahead, Niall.
Well, I think in a factual sense, he had that authority, that kind of clout too, because of his gestures throughout 2024. I think he have touched some very innovative areas, which even the children fund, the social security payout. But to me, he's a prime minister that attempts to reach the people right across the board, and I could easily understand, a double salary will just benefit. Even some would say it would be he's going to break down and he's going to have a spill off in the society and everything else. I think he has the clout because of past gestures, facts, to do that. That's what I think.
Webbo, I don't know if I can chime in here at this point. Webbo, what Maya would have said, I would have heard, and probably yourself, I would have heard lots of persons, would have given praise to Dr. Joe, the only Prime Minister to date that would have given back something from the CBI monies to non-civil servants, non-public servants. And I think that those persons would have him in high praise. Now, if memory serves me right, I think last year public servants got not a double but extra half month's pay, if memory serves me right, and non-public servants got something. I can't recall exactly what it was. Maybe what could have done, is to wean the public a little more, in that you would have given a double, then you would have given half of a month, maybe it could have been a quarter of a month, knowing that, and when we see that, then next year coming, we would understand if it was double, then it was a half a month, and now it's a quarter month, then we at our regular month's pay next December. But as I say, I believe persons, especially persons in the private sector, I believe that they are appreciative of what Prime Minister Joe did for them, for the country, by giving them a portion of what they so richly deserved.
Webbo, we would have gone into Parliament last week and passed our own budget in the Nevis Island Assembly. And one of the things that the Prime Minister would have announced in his presentation is for the next 6 months the VAT will be reduced to 13% from 17%. Now, Webbo, while I appreciate the gesture by the Prime Minister and the idea of reducing the VAT on the VAT rate for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, to remove the VAT from 13%, from 17% to 13% for the next 6 months, it will create some challenges for us here in Nevis. And it will do so because we would have already done our forecast and budget allocation and projection at the 17% rate. So for the next 6 months of the new year, there is going to have to be some adjustment in our forecasting. Of course, the Nevis Island administration can, I believe, and I think that we will have to perhaps have this conversation as to how best we'll be able to offset that new reality that for the first 6 months of 2025 there would be a reduction in what we are projecting. It will create some challenge, and I don't think that we are under any illusion that it won't, but it would have been a very good gesture if the Prime Minister, and perhaps if we were alerted about this before our budget presentation, and then we could have perhaps make whatever necessary adjustments we may have need to make. But I thought that it came at a time after we would have done our budget, passed our budget at the 17% rate, and it will now create some reworking, so to speak, of our numbers. Don't get me wrong, Webbo. I am very much in support of the reduction of VAT on the general population. I feel that it would now allow the population to have a bit more disposable income. And what I would say to persons that they can look at this reduction in VAT for the next 6 months as a possible saving. They can use that extra saving in the monies in their pocket and save it if that's possible. And I hope that that is how they can look at that initiative. But for us, we would have to take a look at what we would be expecting in 2025 and perhaps have to make some adjustments.
How the people feel it, in a sense, that reduction, because sometimes they have a little reduction, but the people, the outlets, the people who sell know how to do what they're doing. And
well,
the people
again, that is something that will have to be policed.
that was something
It would definitely have to be policed because you are hoping that the various businesses will now go into their system and change the number from 17 to 13.
Okay, let's change this number.
Yes.
Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yes. I think that was more serious than meets the eye, you know. The fact that there doesn't seem to have been some kind of consultation between the NIA and the federal government before a big move like that would have been done. Does it automatically, does the VAT rate automatically takes effect on both islands?
It should.
Yes.
My understanding that it does.
It should.
If that is federal.
Yes,
It's at federal, yeah.
But if you're worried about whether or not you will have a drop in revenue and you should have told this and stuff like that, one of the things you have to understand when you're dealing with anything, there is the other impacts as well.
Yeah.
Because what happens is that when you do that from 17 to 13, what happens to the activity?
You're hoping that you would have more spending activities.
But you will.
Yeah.
You will. So that is why I keep saying all the time, you know, we need a broad debate. Because when you just make something and a few people give a narrow view and then call it that, that's where we are losing.
But I mean, when you think about it, don't you think that the federal government would have known that there would have been some impact on Nevis?
Of course.
But what is the impact? What is the impact?
Well, regardless of what it would be, the fact that you've made, as you mentioned, the projections were made with 17% in mind.
So what if, okay, the question you asked, did the federal government not know there will be an impact on Nevis? What if the answer is yes?
Well, if the answer is yes, all the more reason they should have been forewarned.
Okay, so work with me. So if the answer is yes, and then the impact would be that it will increase the revenues for Nevis, they should have been forewarned that your revenue will increase?
Of course, because you're assuming that it would. It doesn't necessarily mean that it would.
Well, let me ask you this.
To me, it was
work with me. When you had it remained at 17% for 2025, are you not also assuming that you will collect a certain amount?
The federal government?
No, whoever.
Yeah. You have so
Whoever.
Yes, but
you work with me. You seem to be suggesting that leaving it at 17% is a guarantee that you would get a certain amount.
Well, you know for sure that there's going to be most likely.
No, sir, you don't know for sure.
I'm telling you know for sure that there will be some change in revenue collection.
Yeah, but I'm telling you don't know for sure.
That there will be a change in revenue collection?
No, you don't. I can see it. Of course, there'll be a change.
Right.
Because nobody can predict.
What I'm wondering.
Work with me. Nobody can predict what the exact revenue will be. That is why early on in the discussion, I tell you there is a theory, the budgeted, there is a practical, and then you look at the variance.
But then maybe we're speculating that there may not have been consultation before, when in fact there may have been, and an agreement may have been that if there NIA is disadvantaged by that change, that the federal government would come and step in with some kind of subsidy. I mean...
Okay, so I got you.
Yeah.
Here's what we got to do. Thank you very much. We wish you a Merry Christmas. Let's go around the table and do that.
Well, I would like to wish everyone out there happy holiday and pleasant and successful and a lively 2025 if we are not back before that. Enjoy your holiday, enjoy Christmas to those who look forward to the Christmas celebration. Eat well, drink well, and be good to the people around you.
Webbo, I just want to, just before I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, Webbo, I just want, with your permission, to ask persons coming to the port, if possible, if they can walk with 2 pieces of IDs. When you go to the gate, the security there would hold 1 piece of ID, and then the other piece would be for the customs to verify that you are that particular person clearing an item, the particular item. Webbo, I just want to say a Merry Christmas to you and your staff, a Merry Christmas to all those near and far, especially those who listen every Tuesday night. May God bless us all. May we have a wonderful and prosperous 2025.
Webbo, I want to join, obviously, with my colleagues around the table for what appeared to be the final show for 2024. I want to say a very pleasant good evening to Ted Hobson and his family, and want to wish him a very Merry Christmas. Webbo, I want to, of course, wish my staff, my permanent secretary, assistant, and my staff there at the Ministry of Communication and Works the very Merry Christmas, and I want to thank them for their cooperation and partnership in 2024. I also want to wish my cabinet colleagues the very best for this Christmas, and I want to thank them as well for the partnership that we have had in 2024. I believe that we have in that cabinet room sometimes, some very lively conversation and discussion. So I want to thank them for the partnership that we have had in 2024. We have had our challenges. I believe that we would have worked well together, and we continue to try and seek to do our very best to the people for the people of Nevis. Well, I want to thank the good people of St. Paul's, Charlestown, who continue to dispose their trust and confidence in me. I want to wish them the very best for this Christmas. I hope that they can have a wonderful Christmas with their friends and their families. I hope that they can spend some time with their various families and exchange some good laughs. The constituency of St. Paul's in 2024 would have had some very dark moments. One or two, I believe we had a few tragic murders in St. Paul's, and I hope that when we reflect on those situations for 2024, I'm hoping that in 2025 we will have none of that in 2025. But I want to say to the people of St. Paul's, despite the challenges, I want to wish them the very, very best for this Christmas season, and I'm hoping that they will have a wonderful and a healthy 2025. Webbo, I want to, of course, wish my dear wife the very Merry Christmas, and my entire family, who continue to be a very good support for all of us, really, as a family. I believe that we have tried in 2024 the very best that we can to support each other, despite the very tragic and difficult times that we have had in 2024. I want to say to the family that we will continue to lean on each other, we will continue to rally with each other, and we will continue to lift up each other and support each other. Webbo, I want to end by thanking you personally and your wonderful staff here at Vaughan Radio. I deem my presence here a privilege and an honor. to come here Tuesday night after Tuesday night to be a part of this very widely listened to program, to try and impart to the general public various bits of information, try and have a respectable conversation. And at the end of the day, I look at this as a privilege. I look at this as an honor, and I look at this as Albert Myers would say the first night I came here, it is a duty to the people of Nevis, and I want to thank you for this opportunity. To all those who are listening here on the island of Nevis, on St. Kitts, throughout the entire region, wherever my voice is being heard, wherever our voices are being heard, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I wish for you all that you wish yourselves times 100.
Having heard Mr. Brand, I know that we gone a little, past the time, but I tell people all the time, a manager exists to make sensible exceptions to general rules. So I'm using that to go back to Naya and Fifield. First Fifield, because I think he get the hint. So you got a few more minutes.
Yes, well, thank you, Webbo. Webbo, I want to wish you too, personally, Merry Christmas. I want to thank you, Webbo, for giving me this opportunity to be part of this panel on Tuesday nights. Webbo, the confidence that you have shown in me. Webbo, I want to say Merry Christmas to my family, my wife.
Okay, good. I just want people to know that first part wasn't it. So go ahead.
To my family, my beautiful wife Rasbed, and my 3 lovely children, Bryce, Anila, and Rejan, and to my extended family, those in the Gingerland area and those further afield. Would like you to have a wonderful Christmas. Remember, Christmas is the time for giving. We help those who are less fortunate, and we try to have a wonderful time. A bright and prosperous New Year is wished to all, including my family, of course, and yet again my lovely wife Rasmin, and to all that are hearing my voice, Webbo. Merry Christmas.
Nothing beats experience, I've been around for a while. Oh yeah, yes, Naya.
Yeah, Webbo, thank you very much for that opportunity to come back to me, because listening to Mr. Brand,
What's my name?
How far I have fallen short. Completely forgetting that it's the last night for 2024, but remembering that it's Christmas time. Webbo, I want to say thank you so much, and to your hard-working staff here at One Radio for having me again throughout 2024. It's a pleasure always to be a part of this conversation. I want to thank the general public for letting us into their home, into their lives, every Tuesday night, discussing these issues, and to be part of this program. I want to say thank you to all my friends and people who I may term my fans. I want to say thank you for supporting me, for being there. Thank you also for criticizing me and to tell me when I'm not being good and when I'm not making sense. I want to thank those who compliment me when I'm making sense and when I represent their cause in a positive way. Webbo, to the whole general public that listen to this program, far and near, I want to say thank you. I look forward to be having this conversation with you in the new year 2025. I wish everyone well going forward. I wish 2025 would bring some success that you've been yearning for. And may the grace of God be a part of your existence going forward. Webbo, thank you for One Radio. Thank you for putting that trust in me to invite me here so often, every Tuesday night, and for praying for me, for all those who have prayed for me when I was not well in the last month or two. I just can't say thank you enough, Webbo, and I wish everyone a happy Christmas and a prosperous 2025.
And as for me, since I'm dealing the deck, I could say that's the last word. Because God's willing, I sign in tomorrow at 6 when I can still. So, any good guys? All right. This is Thought That Get Results. This program repeats tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley. Oh, I think he has done his last program for the year, so join him sometime in January for On The Mark. Thank you all again. Have a wonderful Christmas. The playground starts on Thursday for the kids. You all have a wonderful evening.
Views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Navis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertiser.
Christmas radio, Christmas radio. It's a radio, radio, radio Christmas.
This is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean.